Here's what we'll cover in this Ruy Lopez lesson. First, the baseline theory, the main line you need to know. Next, why every one of these moves actually works. And finally, a common beginner mistake and exactly how to punish it. Welcome to the Ruy Lopez, one of the oldest and most respected openings in chess. It starts with 1.e4 e5, and white immediately challenges black's knight on c6 with bb5. This opening has been played by world champions from Steinitz to Carlsen because it puts pressure on black's center while developing quickly. White aims for a solid pawn center and a slight but lasting advantage. White opens with the king's pawn, claiming the center and opening lines for the queen and the king's bishop. This is the most aggressive first move, immediately fighting for control of d5 and f5. Black answers symmetrically, also staking a claim in the center. This is the most classical response, fighting for d4 and f4, and it prevents white from playing d4 too easily. Now, white develops the knight to f3, attacking the black pawn on e5 and preparing to castle. This knight also controls the important squares g5 and h4, and it supports a future d2, d4 push. Black develops the knight to c6, defending the e5 pawn and putting pressure on the center. This knight also eyes the d4 square, and it's a natural developing move. White pins the knight on c6 to the king, threatening to win the e5 pawn if black doesn't react. This move also develops the bishop to an active square, preparing to castle. Black immediately asks the bishop what it intends to do. If white retreats, black gains space on the queen side. If white trades, black recaptures with the b-pawn and gets a half-open b-file. White retreats the bishop to a4, maintaining the pin but avoiding the exchange. This is the main line of the Ruy Lopez, keeping the pressure on black's center while preserving the bishop. Black develops the knight to f6, attacking the e4 pawn and putting pressure on white's center. This is a natural developing move, and it also prepares to castle kingside. White castles kingside, getting the king to safety and bringing the rook to the center. This also frees the f1 square for the rook, and it's a key step in completing development. Black develops the bishop to e7, preparing to castle and completing the kingside development. This bishop also defends the knight on f6 indirectly, and it's a solid, flexible move. After these 10 moves, white has a slight edge thanks to better development and the bishop pair. In the middle game, white often plays c3 and d4 to challenge the center, while black may try b5 and na5 to counter on the queen side. This is a rich strategic position with many plans for both sides. After the normal opening moves, many players are tempted by a3, thinking it's a useful waiting move that prevents any future knight b4 ideas. But this is a serious mistake. It wastes a tempo and leaves the e4 pawn undefended, giving black a chance to strike immediately. White plays a3, a move that seems harmless but actually neglects the center. The pawn on e4 is now only defended by the knight on f3, and black can immediately challenge it. This move also weakens the b3 square, which black can later use to attack the bishop. Black immediately strikes with b5, attacking the bishop on a4 and forcing it to move. This gains time and also prepares to undermine the e4 pawn. The bishop must retreat, and black is already taking the initiative. The bishop retreats to b3, the only safe square. But now the e4 pawn is left without its defender from the bishop, and black can immediately target it. The bishop on b3 is also somewhat exposed to future attacks along the a2 g8 diagonal. Black captures the e4 pawn with the knight, exploiting the fact that it was only defended by the knight on f3. Now white must recapture, but the knight on e4 is well placed and black is ready to follow up with active development. White develops the knight to c3, attacking the knight on e4 and trying to regain the pawn. But this move is too slow. Black can simply retreat the knight to f6 or d6, and white's position remains passive. The knight on c3 also blocks the c-pawn, making it harder to challenge the center. The lesson is clear. Don't waste time with passive moves like a3 in the Ruy Lopez. Black's counterattack with b5 and nxe4 shows that white's center is vulnerable, and you must always be ready to defend the e4 pawn actively.